I mean, we're coming from that perspective. Don't we all think life and living are good things? Life is a gift. Buddhists don't think so. Buddhists say, we never asked to be born. The best thing you can do in this life is not achieve happiness, is not to be virtuous. The best thing you can do is to not suffer and then die. There is no happiness, folks. There is no blessing to this life. Christians tend to say, and Jews say the world was made in the image of God. Life is a blessing, and therefore we should live correctly. Buddhists say, no, life is not a blessing. Life is torment. Life is suffering, and the best we can do is avoid the suffering. Now, if you come to it from that perspective, you really won't see that what you're saying is a critical thing. Because you're making the assumption that life is good. Why? Why do you think life is good? Well, maybe you should think differently than what you've been taught. Maybe you should think for yourself instead of buying into other people's truths and realities. Yeah, absolutely. But my question is, what are those guns? And why do you believe that those guns should be yours? Well, why? What is your reason for believing? I think that life is a good thing to you. But I'm not going to tell you my reason. What is your reason? Stephanie, what is your reason for having this assumption that the world and that life is a good thing? I mean, you guys have this kind of youthful optimism at 15 and 17. Well, I tell you what, people at 35 and 37, at 75 and 77, as people tend to get older, they tend to be a lot less optimistic, a lot more bitter. As they know more, they become less optimistic most of the time. Why is that? Even people... Hold on. John, let me challenge that for a minute. Have you guys ever noticed that, look at celebrities, people who have the entire world, they have money, they have fame, they have success, and yet it usually is still not enough for them. They're miserable. Why? What? And they expect those things to make them, and they don't. And so my question is, if those things, if you guys think the world is a good thing, then why is it people who have more of the world are more miserable? That makes no sense. If you would think that the world made us happy, people who have more of it would be happy, but they're not. Stephanie?
How do you overcome desire?
Oh, I'll tell you. That's number 4. Number 4 is, how do you overcome desire? You follow the Eightfold Path. And I'm not going to make you guys remember the Eightfold Path. But the Eightfold Path, and I wrote it down actually, it's what I brought up here because I never remember the whole page. It says, have the right opinions, right aspirations, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right contemplation. I can sum that all up for you guys. What you do is, these people remove themselves from the world. I mean, haven't you ever heard, Stephanie, haven't you ever heard of a Buddhist monastery?
Yes.
Right? A monastery is removed from the world. And these people sit around and they meditate, and they don't get heavily involved in the world, and they try not to be tempted. I mean, this is, again, I'm trying to challenge you guys on this. I'm not trying to tell you that this is right, but it's so anathema to the way that you guys view things. I'm trying to challenge you on this. Because you guys live in this kind of cool consumer world view. And this is the exact opposite of it. I mean, you guys are like, God, they don't play fun. I mean, there's no food, there's no love, there's no sexuality, there's no roller coaster, there's no brownies, you know? And they would say all those things they imprison you. Boy, go ahead.
I was going to go back to the celebrity thing.
Yeah.
It's because people who can have a lot of things, they expect to get more of it, but when they have it all, there's nothing left to get, and that makes them unhappy, I guess.
But don't you think that suggests, I agree with you, and don't you think if you take it a step further, Lauren, that would suggest that the things they were after in the first place were not the things that would fulfill them?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, if
You guys are into this, aren't you? Go ahead.
if something caused by desire, isn't it for me to learn a lesson during their life? So basically, suffer for what you want, and that basically...
Is it suffer?
Suffer for what you want, like love, like whatever you
Or
want.
success or whatever.
Yeah. Isn't that basically being don't want what you want?
Well, I mean, if you're Schopenhauer and Nietzsche would say, yeah, I mean, we find meaning through struggle, right? These guys would say, I mean, Buddhists would say, no, you find torment through struggle. There is here's the thing. Are these guys trying to perfect their nature? Are they trying to attain wisdom and success? And no, they're not. I mean, in the West, in America, we all have this obsession with making sure our life matters, right? That our life means something, and that we don't waste our life, and that we make a contribution, and maybe sometimes people think that means getting famous or being a good basketball player or being a good teacher, whatever. We have this obsession in America of using our freedom and making our lives count, right? But again, that goes back to the assumption that your lives are supposed to count, that it's a gift, and you don't want to waste it. These guys don't start from that premise, right? So, Norm, I completely agree with you. As a matter of fact, go back to the Greeks. The Greeks said, if you want to be wise, what do you have to go through in order to be wise? You have to struggle. You have to suffer. As Aeschylus once said, suffering is the price we pay for wisdom in this life, right? Nobody ever learned anything by always succeeding, right? You tend to learn and become a better person through struggle and suffering and pain and torment, right? That kind of perfects you, kind of shows. It's like C.S. Lewis puts it this way. Imagine that human beings are a block of marble, right? And that God is an artist.